So technology can, besides keeping track, besides giving MIS, can also be a very big leverage. And this is something financial advisors who plan to work with customers over longer periods of time should definitely look at this aspect. The third is fluidity. So today the world is very fluid, it is not probably like it was 15, 20 years back. So which is the third F. Requirements change very frequently. The customer's life cycle, lifestyle, everything changes very frequently. Customers working in organizations today, they're in Bombay, tomorrow they may be in Calcutta. Today they may be in India, tomorrow they may move to Singapore. Of course, marriage, kids, purchase of properties, etc. happen. Job loss. These factors have major impact on financial planning. And they need to be captured real time or almost real time. And that's fluid. This information is fluid, it gels in with technology, but the financial advisor has to be prepared to advise the customer in a fluid market also. He cannot just make a financial plan saying, this is a financial plan for 5 years, now just do it, forget everything else and follow this. Because circumstances keep changing. And the financial advisor has to integrate the changing circumstances with the broad financial plan that one has. So that is that's another point that I thought we should put forth here. So fraud, how to control fraud, or how do you keep in line with regulations? How do you provide a fair deal to everybody in that sense? Technology, what role does it play? How can it be maximized? And lastly, fluidity. What I will do now is, we have had one round of discussion and certain very interesting points have come out, particularly on fiduciary responsibility, transparency, fairness to the customer. What is the qualification of financial advisor? This is also very interesting because a single financial advisor today, if he's advising the customer, should be equipped to give advice on equity, on debt markets, maybe foreign exchange, maybe even commodities, because most Indians love to purchase gold, they love to purchase real estate, right? We know that more than 50% of savings in India goes into non-financial savings. So what about that? Is any advisor advising on that? Insurance, protection and savings, mutual funds, a whole lot of asset classes are available to the customer today. Indians can also invest overseas, in overseas investments, if I'm not wrong, to about 200,000 US dollars, which is not a small amount on a yearly basis. So is that something that they should avail of? Should the affording class or the HNI to the upper middle class, should they look at diversification of assets overseas, considering that our currency is now almost 60? So would he have been better off buying US gilts? So these are also aspects that one has to look at. And how does an advisor, if you look at insurance, for example, where I have a little bit of experience, I would say it's a little ironical because in a rural setup, you can have an advisor who's just 10 standard plus. And in any other place, you can have an advisor who's just 12 standard pass. But he's expected to advise on a financial plan. And he's expected to do a 7-page proposal form. And is expected to consider all the financial requirements of the customer and give him the right products. Now, somewhere, does one have to see if this is ironical? Is it possible for a guy who's really 10 standard qualified or 12 standard qualified? I'm sure there are many other advisors who are much more qualified or probably certified in CFP, etc., who may be able to do this. But as an advisor, are we expecting too much of him? That is also a question that one has to pose. So I would love the panel to debate on these points. And I'll once again start with my right, Deepak, and maybe you can take a little bit more this time since you were very brief in your opening round as to what do you have to say on some of the questions that have come up during the panel discussions.
Thank you, Narayan. As rightly highlighted by Mr. Mohanty, that trust is the most important aspect. But the question is, trust, as Mr. Mohanty mentioned, will be built over a period of time. So how an advisor can gain impact on the customer while he's onboarding the customer? Because my first transaction to the trust building might take 12 months, 16 months, 18 months. So the biggest challenge for someone who is starting this advisory as a whole-time business, how to onboard a customer, how to build a trust from first transaction. That is what is most important, because in this era whereby everybody is offering multiple services, everybody is doing some specialized thing. So how this financial advisor who is new to the market will make a difference. What unique feature he can offer whereby he can actually onboard a customer and then build a trust over a period of time and then advise him, make money for him, make money for him himself.
Thanks, Deepak. Mr. Pankaj, you have anything to say on the points which the panel has thrown up?
See, just now you discussed, it's not working. When I said that knowledge means being expert advisor and trusted advisor. So definitely knowledge is also equally important. As he said just now that in rural area, 10th passed person can become an insurance advisor, or in urban area, 12th passed person. And then if you talk about IRD exam, probably they have reduced the passing rate also now from 50% has come to 35%, right? So if anybody scored 35% in that exam, he is also eligible to become insurance agent. So one way we say that people should have knowledge. There is mis-selling. Products are mis-sold to the customers. Now here we are not expecting that the general public, they are really financially literate, they have really good knowledge. And the so-called advisor who is going to advise them, he also does not have knowledge. So what is the solution? So only a knowledge, the person, the advisor who has knowledge, he can only give knowledge to his customer. So if we want, there should not be mis-selling or mis-buying. Both the things are equally important. Many times it also happens that people, customer, they understand, they know everything, and they'll end up buying wrong products or taking wrong decision. So here, if we want that your customer should not be cheated, so first thing, advisor should have knowledge. See, trust is one thing, but sometimes it also happens that advisor himself is not sure what he's doing or is not clear what he has to do. So knowledge is important for advisor as well as for the customer. So what I mean to say is that if advisor has knowledge, then only he can give knowledge to his customer, which will be helpful for the society. Thank you.
Sure. Mr. Mohanty, would you like to say anything on the role of technology, maybe your experience of your organization? Or?
I'd just like to add about the knowledge part of it also. See, this knowledge is the necessity condition, the ability to learn continuously thereafter, not just having acquired a degree, because the state we are working is very fluid and very dynamic. So continuous learning ability and simplifying it for the understanding of the customer that you are dealing with, and maintaining a process which is technology-based, technology is coming. Technology, so that knowledge is your necessary condition and trust is sufficient condition. Without trust, knowledge may get you one business, two business. Trustlessness will take you out of the market. Both are required. Knowledge may be for entry, giving entry, and for retention and continuous growth, your trust will add. And technology is the process. Technology, whatever the latest state of the art, which can be used for communicating three things: your commitment, your communication, and maintaining confidentiality of the customer's data, is retrieval whenever he wants, because he doesn't want to bother himself with a peace of mind. As Mr. Matpal told, that mid of the night he gets up, he wants something, you will be able to give him. For all these things, technology is required. We are dealing in a subject which is not tangible, intangible. We do not have problem selling this water bottle. We do not have problem selling that lamp. But when you're talking about service, about money, which is not seen, not felt, not touched, and everything depends upon this trust factor. So I need to be much more careful in keeping all this data in a tangible format, and which can be shown to him, and he will be the tangibilization of the non-tangible business. I'll have to do by using technology more often. And the communication which I was talking, communication doesn't mean just one type of communication. It's your verbal, it's your vocal, it is your visual, spiritual, it's your physical communication, metaphysical communication, every communication, because the perception is gathered by the customer in any which way.